Plesiosaurs are unique in the animal kingdom because they are the only animals that we know of to have 4 large wing-like flippers. The flippers are similar to the front flippers of a turtle, but unlike the turtle, which has small back flippers that it uses just for steering, the back flippers of the plesiosaur are very similar to its front flippers. This indicates that the plesiosaur would have used all 4 flippers to push itself through the water, or to produce thrust. But how did the front and back flippers move in relation to each other? Did they both go up and down together, or did one go up as the other went down? After all, the fossils by themselves don't tell you much about how they actually moved. Therefore, I required a new approach. So what did I do? I needed to resurrect the plesiosaur to see how it swam. If I was able to genetically engineer a plesiosaur to properly bring it back to life, then I would have. But this was not an option, so I settled on creating a plesiosaur robot instead. I'm interested in the hydrodynamics of the flippers, so I created a robot that just had flippers and didn't have a head, body, neck or tail. Also, because the plesiosaur is symmetrical, I only needed to look at the flippers on one side of the body. I therefore decided on a motion control system, or robot, that sticks 2 flippers in the water from above and moves them in heave, which is the up-down motion, and pitch, which is the twisting motion. I also designed a force sensor that accurately measures the forces produced by the flippers so that I can calculate the thrust and efficiency. So what did I find? I found that the wake caused by the front flipper has a big effect on the thrust and efficiency of the back flipper. Increases of thrust of up to 60% and efficiency of 40% were possible to achieve, which would have given plesiosaurs increases in speed and endurance compared to if they only had 2 flippers. The increased performance only occurs for a particular type of interaction between the flippers. When a flipper is flapping, a vortex is created at its leading edge. Each time the flipper is at the top or bottom of each flap, a vortex gets washed off and is shed into the wake. The pattern of vortices behind the flipper is called a vortex street because it looks like lampposts alternating each side of a road. So I found that increases in performance of the rear flipper only occur when it weaves in between these vortices without touching them. Whether this happens depends on lots of things like the spacing, flapping frequency, flow speed, and phasing between the flippers. So you can see that there is not a simple answer to the question of how did the plesiosaurs use their flippers. There is not one motion that is best for all conditions. Instead, the optimum motion changes depending on how fast they are travelling, the frequency with which they are flapping, and the spacing between the flippers. So why did I study this? So in my opinion, understanding the history of life on our planet has an inherent wonder and goodness. Knowledge of evolution helps us to understand ourselves better by knowing where we came from and what shaped us. And understanding the locomotion of animals is a big part of this. It can give you an idea of how far it can travel, how fast it can move, what animals it can predate on, and what things it could have fallen prey to. Aside from these paleontological questions, tandem flipper systems are an interesting engineering problem. One use would be as a propulsion method for submersible vehicles. Instead of using a propeller to push the submersible along and then using fins or guide vanes to steer it, 4 flippers could be used to do both the propulsion and manoeuvring functions at once, which could potentially be more manoeuvrable, more efficient, and quieter. So what am I working on now? My PhD work focused on one particular plesiosaur specimen, the collard specimen. But how did different types of plesiosaurs swim differently to each other? Were some more efficient whilst others had higher thrust? I'm now performing further sets of experiments with various different plesiosaur flippers so that we more fully understand these fascinating creatures.